गुड इवनिंग। आप चालू रखो, मैं एडजस्ट करता हूँ। आप बोलो।
सर अभी तो आज के दिन में जो दिख रहा था ओवरऑल टेक्नोलॉजी में, तो टीसीएस और इन्फी पहले सब डाउन गया, पर टीसीएस थोड़ा रिकवर रहा, बट इन्फी में जो सेलिंग था आज के दिन में, वो जो बोलते हैं ना ब्रॉड बेस्ड सेलिंग, जो एफआई का जो पोर्टफोलियो में ऐसे कोई बेच रहा हो ऐसा लग रहा था आज के दिन में, ऐसा स्पेसिफिकली लग रहा था। बिकॉज जो एनालिसिस का टाइम है वो उन्होंने जो संडे को रात को आया था, तो दे दे टुक सम टाइम, व्हाट आई फील इज, एंड उसके बाद ही उन्होंने सेलिंग चालू किया है। बट आज का सेलिंग सर वो 1900 1800 से जो सेलिंग आया था ना, उससे भी ज्यादा लग रहा था आज का सेलिंग मेरे हिसाब से इन्फी में, इफ यू आस्क मी। सो दैट इज माय शॉर्ट टर्म व्यू। बट सर लॉन्ग टर्म में तो जो भी आपने बोला और जो ओवरऑल सिनेरियो लग रहा है आईटी में, दे विल नेवर बॉटम डाउन इन द शॉर्ट टर्म। अभी थोड़ा बाउंस आएगा, वापस नीचे जाएगा, बट ओवरऑल मेरे को लग रहा है 3 फिगर के नीचे ही, यानी 4 फिगर के नीचे ही आप बाय करोगे तो थोड़ा जस्टिफाइबल रहेगा सर प्राइसिंग में।
नहीं, वैसे तो खरीदने का जरूरत क्या है?
वो भी है सर, वो भी है। देयर आर अदर स्टॉक्स आल्सो, गुड स्टॉक्स।
इट इज नॉट एन एसेंशियल आइटम।
करेक्ट सर।
अपने बीच में दर्शन भाई है, तो आई विल आस्क हिम टू स्पीक अबाउट इन्फोसिस इफ ही कैन।
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Very well.
Sir, don't have any specific opinion on technology and Infosys in particular. But I generally look at the other side of the trade, because one is that, these things were trading at about low double digit earnings pre-COVID. You did, of course, see acceleration in digital spend, stroke, significant investments which came through in FY 21-22. And we bought the multiples for a whole lot of them, the mid cap names that we know of in specific, to as 50, 60, and kind of multiples. I think it's challenging to maintain and sustain such multiples in a business which otherwise has in the past, of course, it had made sterling performance, from the Y2Ks to 2015, 16. It did a whole lot of stuff, but it didn't. I think the multiples are slightly out of whack. So to that extent, we underperformed. We didn't own much of IT. Not that we own even today. But the flip side to it is that this business, assuming its steady state grows, we don't have to go and buy an IT stock. But when you do a 45 to 50% wages to billing, I think you're going to put out a lot of people out there with very significant fat revenue stream. And if you look at the NASSCOM McKinsey report, one may debate the merits, one may debate the extrapolation, considering that the environment has changed, the hiring trend data coming out of the Apples, Microsofts, all have turned in the recent times negatively. But let's assume that we give it a little bit of credibility and we assume that instead of 5 years, it'll do in 7. And if you are talking about a services industry yielding $500 billion top line, if I was to, I believe in the credibility of the report, so that's why I'm giving the numbers from. Then I'm reading those numbers. Then I'm talking about an industry which will pay out about $250 billion as wages. It's a staggering number, and I think what these young people will do, or this whatever that it'll be like the middle class, which will be double income households, exceptionally talented bunch of people. I would think that what they would do on the consumption side is what I would call the infy plus of the trade. I wouldn't have any opinion on infy, but I would have think that this infy plus, the enabling environment it creates by running this business, is I think what interests me more. And to that extent, I'm focused on that bit. So my limitations on not tracking the large cap IT names. But when I see the scale of correction in some of these names is staggering, and I can only say that in hindsight that it was our bad luck to miss the uptrend, but I think we were too lucky to have not caught the uptrend. So I'll stop, sir.
No, Darshan bhai.
Yes.
A general view of the multiples as a professional investor, would you buy them at this levels or what levels if you were to buy? Hello, Darshan. Oh,
टेक्निकल इशू की वजह से आई थिंक सर रिकनेक्ट होंगे सर.
और और किसी को बोलना है भाई इन्फोसिस के बारे में कुछ? नहीं, कोई नहीं बोलना.
अभिषेक, डॉक्टर अमित.
नहीं, वो लोग तो क्या बोलेंगे. आ गया दर्शन भाई, उसको ले.
Did.
No, I'm saying as a professional investor, you are not invested in this so-called tech companies. But if I have to put a gun to your head and say, no, you will have to buy, at what levels you will buy?
I would think, sir, that anything more than about a about a 13, 14 multiple will be asking for would be being too ambitious, sir. But I must tell you, sir, that today if I take the consensus earnings
No,
itself to my mind will get downgraded.
no, Darshan bhai,
हाँ जी sir.
I hold you in high esteem, whatever you may be, manager, fund manager, whatever, you are good. So I'm asking a simple question. A
Right, sir.
company growing at 11% or 12% or 15%, how much P would you be comfortable buying? I know your answer would be you will not buy, but say suppose you have to buy.
Okay, so if you put a gun on my head, sir, I'm going to buy sectors. I mean, special. I mean, business certain businesses. So ERD, that's engineering R&D, is one sector. I'm going to buy a enabler. Unfortunately, sir, the one that we both have a common interest in at some point of time to still. So I would wait for these to correct, but I'm going to buy them because I still think that the absolute growth outcome there are very large. I would be willing to bet my money on there at maybe at 30, 40 times than to buy a large cap at 14, 15 times today.
No, but
Eventually, we need a wait. Assuming, I think this will exhaust us, sir. The enforcement pieces of the world, sir.
nee, Darshan bhai, please
Yes,
give
sir.
a number in multiples. Okay, at
Okay,
what
so
level
I
you
would
will
think
be?
third multiples not around 15 times, sir. I will buy the large cap IT names, sir.
Darshan bhai, your voice is breaking.
Am I better now? I'm sorry, my network seems
Yeah,
to be a
yeah,
little
yeah,
bad.
yeah,
Okay, my apologies.
yeah. Okay, it's gone. Keen investor. આવ્યા છે દર્શનભાઈ આવ્યા છે લોન એને સમદભાઈ
Yes, sir.
આ
Hello.
લોન no keen investor just a moment.
I'm here. I'm having a little network issue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so 14 to 15
My
times
for large
you
cap
will be
IT, no way, sir. No, I'm not going to.
you have a network problem, I suppose.
I think so, sir. We have a little problem today. I'm sorry.
And a large cap IT company
Yes, sir.
having a growth of 11%,
Right,
at
sir.
what P you would buy?
Sir, so you, why would you buy for a business which looks a little matured right now in the current circumstances anything more than a peg of one, sir? So, 11, 12 times, if he's showing them, why pay more than 11, 12 times on the PE multiple today?
No, so I saw the results of Tech Mahindra.
Yes, sir.
Pathetic is not the word here.
Now, I think so. The whole, I think there is a little bit of a problem, and so let's put it this way: that today, when the large cap, this are of course large platform companies, but if today, Google says I'm going to rethink in some parts, and Microsoft thinks I'm going to think in some parts on hiring intentions, it worries me, sir. So I would think that maybe the markets are also waiting for certain clarity. I think this week the results come through, we'll have clarity, and I think markets will go in place. But I think, sir, this whole digital space, ERD space, I think, sir, if dedicated businesses are available, they're expensive, but maybe those are the places to, sir, look at, sir.
You can name some few uh, companies for the benefit of listeners.
So it would be fair to think that I have a vested interest in all of them. So everybody should be take my recommend with a pinch of salt. But I think the amongst the ERD places that we like LTTS. We like the happiest mind that we at one point time had discussed. But sir, I would think that if they don't correct, sir, we won't make money here. These things need to correct, sir, for us to make money.
Hmm. So you want them to go down first.
Listen, sir. So I'll you know yeah, I hope it does because I will do better. I'll have a slightly better margin of risk if they go lower and then I buy, sir.
Hmm. And
But
one last question to you.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
On the whole, the
Yes, sir.
earning season has been good or bad.
Uh, Sir, I would think that in the in a business where attrition was at a all time high, where you have a significant bench being built, uh, I think it's not a tragedy or a disaster. So if that's your question, I think it's a fair result. I think the markets in their wisdom have corrected the froth. But these businesses are clearly, sir, I mean, if you believe that they're going to compound at 12-13%, I think these are good businesses, sir. They are very nice, large, good ROE businesses, good payout ratios. I mean, they are good businesses, sir. But it's so but I must so with the kind of background this matured set of traders that we have here have investors, traders, what might suit and investor who does indexing may not suit us. And the tragedy with some of the large cap names, to my mind, is that they're all in the index, and the index unfortunately has a bit from the mutual fund investor. It has a bit from now the EPF who's going from 15 to 20%. So floating stock in this sometimes I think holds and supports them more than what you would want to give them credit for.
And according to me, there is an outstanding of Nifty futures of around 1 crore and R 25 lakhs. But
So
as
that
per my calculation,
right.
that is 225 crore Nifty in physical.
Okay. Okay.
So the hangover is lot meaning lots.
Uh, so the problem is that this indexing it brings its own answer. What has also happened, sir, which I really I am not an expert on this subject, and I don't understand the subject. That'll be a more better disclaimer. But when you have this principal protected structures which are sold with a nifty underlying, I think the sheer volume of delta hedging would be so large, so that it's possible to spin a mine. Which is why I think sometimes this markets, especially on the option side, they swing so widely. I think this whole delta hedging creates another animal out there.
Mm.
એટલે આપણા busting, I mean, outside, but it's a clearly ERD, digital. I think some of these places, I think it'll be difficult for them not to grow ahead of the overall IT services growth, sir. This animals, I think, should provide superior growth. And I think very recently, happiest mind in terms of the guidance that it gave out, it's like a 22% CAGR, sir, for 5 years. I mean, it's a pretty large number. One can debate whether, but Mr. Suta is a person with with great pedigree, and hats off to him. One must, at least if nothing else, respect his opinion and assess, whether at a bad day this might look interesting. But for now, maybe these are expensive, and I think it'd be fair for me to say that I have a vested interest in all these names, and I'm probably speaking my position, and I think it'll be a fair disclaimer to give on this audience, to this audience here.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir. You have a pleasant day, sir.
Yeah. ओके, बोलिए संजीव भाई, बहुत उतावले हो रहा।
हाँ सर, मेरा क्वेश्चन एबीबी पे था। अभी आपके कहने से
नहीं, एबीबी नहीं है, यहाँ इन्फोसिस है।
ओके सर।
किन इन्वेस्टर?
Sir, good evening, sir.
गुड इवनिंग
Sir, what price I last call I had mentioned, because I would be interested if it is around $1,100 or a peg ratio below, 1.7 or 1.5 currently, which is at 3. And no doubt, the company is a great company. I've made a lot of money of Infosys, and I've actually exited with a lot of pain, in the last run up. Even my family were very upset, when I exited, because I had my own theory and logic behind doing it. Uh, but it's a great company. I would like to own it. But given the situation, the way US has printed the money, I'm very skeptical, because the liquidity tie up will definitely show the real value of these companies, which may lead some more selling may happen. Again, I don't know when these prices will come, but I definitely like to own TCS, Infosys, and some of the names that Darshan ji had mentioned, but at a good price, because there's no compulsion for me to buy a investment for the next 4 or 5 years if I'm not able to generate 10 to 12%. I think government bonds would be a better place for me, in terms of capital gain, and if I have to own these large companies. So, given that, I think I would like to rest this in terms of, and I've gone in detail. The results been quite not that great. That too, especially for the last quarter. So we can only think what would be the future growth in this segment. And also, if I'm a part of a company. I raise capital for some startups and technology side. In 2008-9, these companies faced the consulting firms were asked to take 20-25% cut in their fees structure. And I've spoken to many of them in the recent past. They are fearing that that will come probably end of this quarter or in a beginning of next year. So, given all the situation sitting in Bangalore, there's still demand of people. There's no doubt there is still recruitment going on a very big, spree. People who are running 30, 40,000, not so great coders have been offered 9, 10, 12 lakhs kind of a packages. I'm not sure how long it will sustain. So this is my case, sir, and I would like to definitely own these companies. They're great companies with good management, but price point it really hurts. If you have to buy, hold it for next 5 years or a 10-year period, probably 10-year period they may do well, but 4 5 years, I would like to see a price correction, sir.
And what's your opinion on the tweet of Bagdi?
Sir, I think important thing in your space, you never mentioned anybody to short infy. You were only discussing like a CNBC guys discussing in any result. And in fact, we were, I think one speaker, Ameya, he gave a very great perspective. Fact Finder gave great perspective of everything. It was a very neutral discussion. It was not that, I never seen you saying that you saying go short or anything, especially good companies like this. I'm very strange. I think you never heard this space, and claiming that, the lot of people will listen blindly and do it is uncalled for. And the same time, if somebody is saying buy, I wonder where these people were when they were saying real estate boom is coming back and buying at a great price. So many mid cap IT companies, trading at 80, 100. And I don't know where these guys were, at that point in time. I don't know, but this they may have, probably they seeing the pain point of owning these companies. I understand. If I am a investor and see my portfolio going down every single day, it's very painful. So I think that may be because of his personal holding. He maybe want everybody to speak the same thing. If everybody opinion is the same in the market, then where is the market?
No,
I
but suppose if we are talking now,
Yeah.
how can we impact the price?
Yeah.
We don't have that much control.
Yeah. Yeah, true, sir. True. Yeah,
It was uncalled for.
I completely agree with you. And I've been, in your calls for many times, and I follow your tweets. I think you are actually guiding public in a right way. And very few of us, trying to tell people that what is expensive or not, or what which is great business. And there is no need to invest in equity if you don't understand the business models. You can index and passive invest, and you accept the fact that I don't have an expertise and stay. But people like you who have so much of experience, so much of knowledge to share, you made a comment on a Karnataka bank, because I followed Karnataka bank, and I knew some of the promoters who held the stake in that bank, and I knew what was going on. I'm talking about very long back, 10, 15, 20 years back, I think.
Oh.
uh, so the truth is, we have a system where a commodity exchange failed, if you recall, which used to give an arbitrage of 15, 17%.
Mm.
In which part of the world, in a greatly securitized, so much of regulation, we allowed a exchange, which is a commodity exchange, collapse. So, given all these facts, and you watch TV, all these analysts, fund managers, they have a reason to be bullish because they want people to stay invested. They make money out of stay invested. I've never seen analysts coming and saying a sell. He says hold. Why he has to say hold when the business is not doing well? So I guess you you should be writing books and probably doing courses, which probably people should take you seriously in these matters.
And another thing, I strongly believe that our 12,000 Nifty is on the uh, way, on the uh, cards. Now, it might happen, might not happen. But what is the point of arguing with me and abusing me? 16 or 17 months ago, it was 12,000 only.
Yeah. No,
Right.
actually, today Rohit ji was an expert in technical expert. He actually replied, that if that happens, 11,800 does on the cost. See, it's all a guess and estimation based on the various parameters. And with this kind of illiquid market, where the printing of money is gone for a toss, and India depends on the foreign currency, especially IT or any other companies. Look at the Asian Paint result, good result. But why does it happen? People panicked. They bought their the people who were constructing houses or anything. They went and bought those inventory in a big time. So we need to see carefully next 2 quarters how this inventory, how this Asian Paint results will pan out, because everybody knows the prices of commodities shot up in last 3 4 months. The whole builder community panicked, and you look at how many uh, households were doing things. People just went and bought in advance. I think that's the reflection of the panic which happened. And I guess number Nifty 12,000, whether it happens or not, it's a guess, like any analyst coming and telling, by this company we expect it to do so and so, and it may not happen. It may happen, it may not happen.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I'll, f- I'll, f- I'll, I'll fact finder, I'll take Anant, and afterwards you. It's okay.
Please go ahead.
Sharad bhai, please take fact finder. I will come a little later. Dinner कर रहा हूँ.
Okay. Yeah, fact finder.
I mean, I think that's it. I just so Sharadji, what would you like to discuss? Because incrementally, uh, I don't think things have changed in the last couple of days. The only incremental piece of information, I guess, is Walmart, right?
Yeah.
And the other incremental piece of information is sorry, massive spike in gas prices. But I think, to my mind, Shopify cutting 10% of their employees kind of indicates that the marketing budgets, which is essentially the driver of digital spend, that I think is at a big risk now. People are ignoring it now. Obviously, the impact of this, as Amia and I had discussed and I'd asked him this question as well on the previous thing, is how long is the delay between actually a customer coming to you with an IT project and you signing that and announcing it. Usually it takes 2-3 months. It could, even for larger projects, it takes even longer. So all this, the impact of people cost cutting now will only reflect in the next 3 to 6 months, right? And the scenario for Europe will get progressively worse by the end of this calendar year. And I mean, the point is that if things go very badly in Germany and the rest of Europe, then companies shut down. They will just simply stop expenditure. And I slightly disagree with Darshan. I agree with him in the long term that ER&D is a great thing, but bear in mind, a lot of this ER&D is related to manufacturing, right? And if a lot of it is outsourcing from Europe and the US, but also Europe a lot. And if manufacturing gets shut down or hit very badly in Europe, which is what my view is, then a lot of these ER&D projects will be delayed for sure. I think that risk is not priced in. So the big risks, in my view, is uh, you know digital projects getting shelved in the next 3 to 4 months. We will see more data points. A good data point is what Walmart's talked about and what Shopify. A second, ER&D and manufacturing in Europe goes into a tailspin because of energy. So yeah, I mean, pretty much those two. That I think. The other interesting thing which I'm yet to make up my mind on is if you go back about a year and a half ago, see a lot of Indian IT companies, right? They hedge themselves forward on a 12-month basis, on a 6-month basis, depending on what they want. So typically, this is something that most analysts on the street, and when I say analysts, I'm talking about institutional analysts, they don't really track this as much. What typically happens is that when I hedge myself, the realization that I earn as a company is actually something is on the forward effectively. So I sign a project, I know my revenues, and then when I hedge myself so that on my cash flows, so that in the future when those that cash comes through, I know what realization I'm going to get. So effectively, an IT company doesn't really realize spot; they realize future. Now, if you go back about 18 months ago, there was a huge deluge of money that came in from abroad, right? Dollars were coming into India big time about 18 months ago, right? And that's why the RBI was very scared and they were actually encouraging people to buy dollars because they didn't want to buy all the dollars. Otherwise, the rupee would have appreciated. So instead, what they did is that they started buying the forward premium at a very high premium. And as a result, the thing was said, arbitragers, they bought dollars in the spot. This was 18 months ago. They bought dollars in the spot and sold futures at a very high premium to RBI, which RBI bought. So, as a consequence, the IT companies, for instance, or some speculators, those guys, the realization of dollars at that point of time, anybody who was hedging themselves at that point of time was hedging in themselves at a very high rupee USD dollar, USD rupee, okay, on a forward. Now, unfortunately, the exact opposite has happened because there's so much of pressure on the rupee. The RBI is saying that I will provide you, you can buy rupee from me in the forward at only 2%. And listen, this is very important. So effectively, that premium has only gone down to 3%. So what they were getting at 7% now has come down to 3%, which means my forward rupee has actually not moved up much, despite the fact that the spot rupee has moved up. So, that impact in margins is yet to come through. It will come through now over the next 6 to 9 months, and this is what analysts haven't factored in. Anyway, I'll stop there.
Why?
No, I
No,
mean,
a fact.
yeah,
What do
go ahead.
you think of the valuations of IT companies in India?
See, I simply use a benchmark of Accenture, period. Very simple. Because that's what, see, at the end of the day, this is how it works, okay?
Hmm,
Foreign investors, if they have a choice, they will buy Accenture and they'll buy Infosys ADR,
hmm,
right?
hmm.
Now, if Infosys Accenture derates, eventually Infosys ADR will derate. If Infosys ADR derates, the local ADR also will, local stock, Indian stock will derate because arbitrages will try and make the difference. So the local
Yeah.
stock derates, and the local stock derates, TCS derates. So see, at the end of the day, we are a connected market. It's, now this might not happen instantaneously, right? And I'll give you an example, right? Um, March was a beautiful time for anybody to go short on IT, and why? And I did that, but why? Because Accenture had already started correcting a lot, and and Accenture was growing far better than these companies, and the stock is already derated. So you can't have these companies at a premium to Accenture when they were growing at half the rate of Accenture. They were not able to maintain margins as good as Accenture, and they were not able to acquire companies and skills the way Accenture was. Right. So if Accenture was growing double the rate was and steady margins was available at a discount, eventually Indian IT companies will have to derate, which is what eventually happened. So I would just tell anybody, just use Accenture's forward P as a good benchmark and give a discount to that, because in my view that's good. Now the reason why TCS still trades at a premium is TCS is relatively very illiquid compared to Infosys. The float of TCS is only 25%, but the float of Infosys is 85 to 90%. That is the reason why Infosys reacts more than TCS. TCS is a control stock, just like Wipro is a control stock. But when things turn reverse on, say, Infosys and TCS, the correction can be rapid, especially in Wipro, but not as much on TCS. TCS has delivered so well over the last several years, so people are still giving it that premium. Plus the and consistency. It has been far more consistent versus a Wipro, for instance, right, or a Tech Mahindra or a HCL Tech, right? So people say, okay, fine, we are willing to forgive it, which is, and the fact that the float is so small compared to Infosys, which where the float of the stock is about 85-90%, right? That's why Infosys reacts more realistically to events than TCS. Eventually, the catch up happens though. Remember, I circulated an article, right? The price of a stock is more dependent not on the big holders, but rather the current desperate buyers and sellers for stock. And that can change the direction of a stock price, especially in a market like India, where the government, the exchanges have controlled the amount of futures, open interest on each stock to a very small limit, right? That's it.
Last question. Tech Mahindra reported 11% growth. So, what should be the rating or the price of that stock?
I'll be honest, Sergey, I've not done enough of work on it, but obviously they've just been disappointing. See, I mean, the very simple thing is I was looking at the margin profile for the last 16 quarters for Infosys, right?
Hmm,
Despite the fact that so-called huge benefits of strong growth from the likes of digital,
hmm,
so-called benefits from automation, so-called benefits from work from home, or meetings with customers directly from your office rather than traveling. Despite that, your margins are lower than what it was in 2019. And I forgot to mention the rupee depreciation, right? So imagine if you didn't have any of these tailwinds, what your margin profile will be. I mean, I was very simply looking, right? The US margins for the US S&P is at about 13, 20, 12.5%. Pre-COVID, it was 10.5. All companies globally, especially the stronger companies, have had the benefit of COVID in terms of margins. In a environment where business activity comes down, there is pressure, your margins will come back to normal. And if your customers' margins come back to normal, your IT company's margins will probably go lower. So, I mean, I think that people are giving too much of benefit of doubt. They will get disappointed, and you will see that disappointment happening. In case of Tech Mahindra, see, if the big guys get derated, the strong, weaker guys like Tech Mahindra will, there's no point even trying to touch them, whatever price.
So I am wrong. I should be out of it. Okay, anyway. मैंने बोला था, बोलो बोलो भाई, मैंने बोला था।
सर आपने
सर जी
बोल
अनम्यूट।
सर आपने बोला था मार्केट नीचे जाएगा, लेकिन सर अभी जस्ट शुरुआत हुआ है ऐसा लग रहा है। क्या लगता है सर आपको?
12,000 हो, एक ही आंसर।
ठीक है, थैंक यू सर।
और रोज रोज का पता नहीं है मुझको।
थैंक यू सर।
ओके, और भाई कोई? वेल्थ वाज अल्फा एनालिस्ट, बोलो कोई तो ले, पकड़ो स्पीकर।
नहीं, अनंत भाई आए सर, अनंत भाई।
हाँ, बोलो।
गुड इवनिंग।
देर आए दुरुस्त आए।
Good evening to everyone from Astana or Nur Sultan in Kazakhstan. हाँ, मैं घूम रहा हूँ तो रोज एक एक नया सिटी चल रहा है। एनीवे, जो भी रैली हुआ, बहुत लोग बकबक किए, नए न्यू हाई न्यू हाई, ये न्यू हाई तो आने वाला नहीं है। इट इज जस्ट कॉट द लास्ट स्विंग का ब्रेकडाउन लेवल जो था उसको टेस्ट किया, वहां से मार्केट घूमा और आज फिर से चालू हो गए नए न्यूज खराब वाले। These are going to push the market down. The downtrend तो पहले से है ही। So this is just the beginning now of a new fall, and the 116,450 आज ट्वीट पे किया था, 16,450 कल तोड़ देगा। 15,450 तोड़ने के बाद में फिर वापस 15,450 दिखेगा नहीं, बहुत महीनों तक at least. I don't think this market is ready to bounce even a little. These minor 1,000-1,200 point bounces are just swing turns. The larger complex swing is to the downside. So this time 15,000 should break, and I am looking at 14,200, which जो पहले से चिल्ला रहा हो 14,200, उसके बाद वो तोड़ेगा, वो भी तोड़ेगा लग रहा है। अभी उसका भी इतना बाउंसेस बीच में आ गए, तो जब वो 14,200 तोड़ेगा प्रेशर बहुत आएगा। And people are really long. People are really long. This market is telling the minute it bounces about 1,000 points, वहां पे बाइक खत्म हो जाता है। So public के पास बहुत माल पहुंच गया है, और there is a lot of pain left for people to look at. So it is not going to be so soon. We are at least looking down all the way till December. बीच में कोई मेरे को ट्रोल भी कर रहा था, देख लो अभी अगस्त में होगा, सितंबर में वो होगा। तो वो मैंने बोला था, ये इसने बोला था, उसने बोला था, वो सब बकवास है। In the last since October, 1200 2000 पॉइंट के तीन रैली है, क्या हुआ? कुछ नहीं हुआ. एवरी टाइम इट गॉट सोल्ड इनटू. दो रैली आए, सॉरी. So this is just another one like it. We had a 1600 point rally. It is nothing great in the larger scheme of things. तो जो आज शुरू हुआ, it should continue for a long time. And trend change date भी था 2 दिन पहले, तो that also fit in perfectly. It is working as expected. 14200 is the first target. उसके बाद तो नीचे पूरा खाई पड़ा है. 12000 शरद भाई जो आप बोल रहे हो वो पहुंच गया तो फिर उधर रुकना नहीं है. वो 12000 पे किसी हाल में
अरे
रुकना.
ज्यादा मत बोल, वो लोग वो बोट ट्रोल करता है. तू अरे 12,000
ठीक है 12000.
तो अभी
और
12,000 बोला है ना मैंने, तो
हाँ
12,000 पे रुक जा,
हाँ अच्छा.
बाद में ही इसको.
ठीक है, वो मैंने बोला था जो था उसको तो मैंने ब्लॉक कर रखा है. वो वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट ट्रोलर्स. Oh, anyway, now to add to this, the USD INR situation or the USD INR chart is looking very bad. If you actually look at the chart, on 18th of July, there was this bottom around 79.70. It has again tested that bottom again, and today it has bounced up. So, because today again it's been an inside day, and the market has closed towards the high of the day. Tomorrow I expect a gap up or gap up on rupee INR, which will dollar INR, which will seriously push Nifty to the downside. This is simply not looking anything good for Nifty or anything looking good for the bulls. हो गया, अभी चड्डी खोलने का टाइम आ गया है. पेज इंडस्ट्री सबके गायब हो जाएंगे.
अनंत,
हाँ जी.
INR जो है ना,
हाँ
टुमारो इज एक्सपायरी.
ओके
8 बजे का रेट होता है, वो पकड़ता है. ओके, तो जुलाई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वो खत्म होता है.
ओके
कॉन्ट्रैक्ट
हाँ
कल 12 बजे के बाद में हो. ओके,
ओके.
तो व्हाट आई फोरसी इज के 80.25 इज ऑन द
बस ये 80 पे
थर्सडे और फ्राइडे.
ये 80 पे रुकना नहीं है. इसका मेरा अल्टीमेट टारगेट 86 है और 10%
तू यार बहुत लंबा सोचता है. इधर नहीं यार, 2-3 दिन का बोलना, सब लोग को पसंद आएगा.
2-3 दिन का 80.
फाइंडर कुछ बोलना चाहता है इसके बारे में, बोलो फैक्ट फाइंडर.
No, I don't have anything to talk about. I wanted to ask Anant about the rupee. I mean, no, not rupee actually. I wanted to ask him about his views on the the mid cap index, because I felt yesterday there was a spaces yesterday where I highlighted that the mid cap stock index had already gone up almost 10% in the last 30 days. And essentially 10% is a pretty good return, and would be advisable for anybody to take money off. So I wanted his views on the mid cap indices. The second thing, I wanted to invite this guy called Saurabh Joshi. If you can invite him, I think he's a forex guy, and he might have a very different view on the
नवीन जोशी ना.
sorry, not Naveen Joshi, Saurabh D Joshi, Saurabh Joshi. He's got dollar, euro, yen, and pound on his.
No, ask him to send a request, no? So it will be easier.
Saurabh, if you could send in a request, it'll be nice, because I think you have a different view on the currency.
एक जीपी को लंबे टाइम से लाइन में खड़ा है.
हाँ भाई, बोल लीजिए, आप बोल लीजिए. पिक्चर आप बोल लीजिए.
नहीं, मुझे कुछ जय श्री कृष्ण कहने आया था, बाकी कुछ नहीं है.
अरे कुछ तो बोलो.
देखिए, 2 दिन या 3 दिन पहले मैंने लिखा था, क्योंकि 30-40 स्पेस होती थी, नए टारगेट आते थे. मैं तो फंडामेंटल नहीं जानता, लेकिन एक ही चीज देखी है मैंने कि जब बेयर मार्केट में या तो बेयर मार्केट में जब पुलबैक होता है,
तो लोगों को ऐसा लगता है कि ये प्लेन उड़ने लगा। और चार्ट के साथ मैंने लिखा था, कोई भी बॉटम फिशिंग होता है कभी भी, देखो 15,750 पे हुआ था, उसमें 2-3 बार प्राइस वहां जाके टच करती है। मान लीजिए ऊपर जाता है, जब अक्टूबर 21 के आसपास, आई मीन 2021 में हुआ था, टॉप 2-3 बार टच करती है, लेकिन पुलबैक रैली में टच एंड गो होता है। बाकी आप देख लीजिए क्या हुआ 3 दिनों में।
और 2 दिन में ही हो गया ना लफड़ा।
हाँ, टारगेट मत पूछना, मुझे कोई लफड़ा नहीं मांगता। जय श्री कृष्ण सर।
जय श्री कृष्ण।
Sorry,
जय
just
श्री कृष्ण।
Saurabh Joshi has apparently sent in a request. Can somebody just send him a request as well as speaker?
Samath, please. Yeah, Anand, in the meantime, you can answer the question of fact finder.
Yeah, mid caps. What are your thoughts on the mid cap indices? Anand?
ये कहा गया यार, ये माइक्रोफोन का म्यूट बटन यार। हाँ, वह मिल गया। See, 10% bounce is just a minor pullback. Don't look at it with so much attention. If you actually see even Nifty, if you look at that, 50, Nifty also bounced back 10%. So in terms of percentages, if you look, all of them have been doing more or less the same. So now, are we going to consider this 10% bounce on the Nifty also as something major? No, not at all. It doesn't look like, because the bounces have been approximately ballpark in the 10 to 12, 14% range for Nifty in this entire decline from October 2021. So it is just repeating that patterns again and again. So nothing much to see there. And a 10% pullback on mid caps here in this area is actually very dangerous. See, when a market has to put a bottom, it is basically the frontliners which have to rally first, which is not happening. If you look at the Nifty, there are just even this bounce of 10 to 12% which has come in is just a few scripts which have rallied. The larger market has not rallied as much as as should have shown in this 10% bounce. So I would not pay much attention here. It is still, even this entire rally is very narrow. By narrow, I mean majority of the stocks are not participating. So when so many majority does not participate, it is very likely that it will get sold into. But what will happen is the retailers and I mean, ignorant public will jump into these newer ones and pump in more money, which is what is looking like happening. Look at ITC at 301, people are still pumping in money. But if you check the pattern, it is making again what is called an advance block. So where every day the market is being sold for the whole of last week and this week. Dangerous situations, actually, very dangerous. And today euro has cracked again 1 cent. 1 cent on the euro is big. 1 euro cent cracking on the euro is massive. So the effect of this will not be seen today. Don't expect a knee-jerk reaction, but this effect will be seen over this week, and by end of next week you will see that these equity markets are much deeper in Europe, and that will spread all across the globe. Gas again. Now coming to gas, now Putin holds all the cards on gas. So all these are dangerous signals. And I am here in Kazakhstan where they produce oil, but even here they are complaining. We buy petrol at the rate of $1.5 per liter. Here they buy petrol at the rate of 10 cents a liter. Still they are complaining that the price is high. So there is something else which is going on across the globe, across the markets. Something is spooking the markets, and these are the. Don't expect any of these short-term rallies. There has to be a major panic before this market puts in a bottom. That panic has not come in yet. So long time to go. A long, long, long time to go.
And another thing I want to say is, whenever there is a bull run, when you pump up the value, it requires huge sums of money to maintain it. Huge, huge, huge. And it's not possible to hold this market now. Nobody has the money. Okay. हाँ सबत भाई लो.
सर मैंने रिक्वेस्ट भेजा है उनको. You have to wait. Yeah, Alpha and Kamal Bhai and Dr. Amit is there. Anyone can speak right now.
गुड इवनिंग सर.
गुड
सर
इवनिंग.
इन्फी में तो इन्वेस्टमेंट में तो नहीं बोल सकता कुछ, मेरा विषय नहीं है वो. डेटा पॉइंट वो में अभी ये स्टार्ट हो गया है फॉलिंग, तो चलता रहेगा. एक्सेप्ट 1-2 डे ये एक्सपायरी में हो सकता है कुछ पुलबैक्स थोड़ा हो जाए, उसके बाद ये चलता ही रहेगा. वो डेटा में दिख रहा है सब. तो रिट्रेसमेंट जो था वो ऑलमोस्ट कंप्लीट हो गया है. अभी डाउन साइड बहुत डीप है, तो चलता रहेगा. एक रिजल्ट मेजर एक वीक के बाद मेजर कंपनी के रिजल्ट भी सबको पास आ जाएंगे, तो उस हिसाब से हो जाएगा सब. ये भी वही ऐड करना है बस, बाकी कुछ है नहीं वैसे नया.
ओके
ओके, थैंक यू सर.
Alpha analyst.
या गुड इवनिंग सर.
गुड इवनिंग.
सर इन्फी में मतलब अपना डिस्कशन जब इस स्पेस में चालू हुआ ना, तब से आई वाज रिसर्चिंग दी 3-year एनालिसिस एंड थ्रू दी फीबार्क एंड अदर टेक्निकल एनालिस्ट टूल आई केम टू नो कि स्टॉक में अभी मुझे तो लग रहा है कि शॉर्ट टर्म में या मीडियम टर्म में स्टॉक विल आराम से फर्स्ट रीच टू 1250 लेवल एंड उसके बाद सर अप टू 850 पहुंच सकता है विद इन ए ईयर, मे बी 6 months. आई एम नॉट श्योर अबाउट द टाइम लाइन, बट जो मैं सर एनालिसिस अभी कर रहा हूँ ना फीबार्क पे कि कितनी डिग्री पे, इफ यू सी 2020 February March infy was around 500-600 rupees. Okay, and since then in 3 years up to Fibonacci degree of at 2 o'clock the stock has risen to 2000 rupees. So as per my technical knowledge, at least the level comes should be around 50% retracement, that is around 1250 minimum, and if breaks that level the stock may reach to around 1900 level, sir, in a year's time.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Kamal ji.
गुड इवनिंग सर. गुड इवनिंग एवरीवन. सर मेरे पास सिर्फ एक ही पॉइंट कहने को है कि what I am looking into according to what I do the analysis is that कि from 29th of July to 22nd of October is not good for equity markets and the world markets. It's as simple as that. उसमें ऊपर नीचे आएगा, नीचे रिएक्शंस आएंगे, ऊपर जाएगा, हल्का जाएगा, but there is nothing good about the market anymore. I mean we believe and I believe that so in saying so जो भी था, जितना भी था होना था हो गया. हो भी जाए थोड़ा और ऊपर 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 निकल भी जाए मार्केट, बट स्टिल फ्रॉम 29th to 22nd of October I'm pretty sure that the equity markets worldwide will not be good. Nothing else to say. बस अभी तो सर अपने स्पेस में एक है, अपने को सेल लेवल की जगह बाई लेवल दे दो सबको, कौन से लेवल पे बाई करना.
तो सब रोएंगे.
हाँ सर, अभी जब सेल देते तब रो रहे हैं, तो बाई करने कम से कम खुश रहेंगे ना कि भाई बाई का लेवल तो मिल गया मेरे को.
बट कमल भाई, एज ए स्टैंडर्ड डिस्क्लेमर, वी आर नॉट टेक्निकल एनालिस्ट. वो सबको पता होना चाहिए और सबके माल की जिम्मेदारी खुद की होती है, तो वो भी होना बोलना पड़ेगा.
समर्थ भाई, वो बात आपकी सब सही है, लेकिन ना समझने वालों को क्या जवाब देंगे ना, ऐसे ही जवाब
नहीं दे से एनीथिंग एवरीवेयर. ओके, कहीं पर भी प्यूक करेंगे, बट वो साफ करने की जिम्मेदारी भी हमारी नहीं है. ओके, बट प्रॉब्लम ये है कि कमेंट कुछ भी होता है, बट उसके ऊपर उसके पहले भी कोई बोले क्योंकि ये रिकॉर्डेड स्पेस है, तो बोले उसके पहले मैं बोल देता हूँ कि भाई यहाँ पर कोई टेक्निकल एनालिसिस नहीं है और किसी ने कान पट्टी के ऊपर गन रख के किसी को नहीं बोला कि ये बेच डालो
और ये खरीद डालो, बराबर।
हाँ जी,
बराबर, बिल्कुल सही है सर।
योर
इतना
मनी
ही,
योर चॉइस।
यस, योर मनी योर चॉइस, अपने माल का खुद रखवाली करो। सर, शरद सर, बस इतना ही था बस, और सर और कुछ भी नहीं है मेरा ऐड करने के लिए। थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू।
सौरभ भाई,
हेलो सर। हेलो, आवाज आ रहा है?
हाँ आ रहा है।
हाँ, गुड इवनिंग सर। मैं तो पहली बार स्पेसिस अटेंड कर रहा हूँ और पहली बार बात कर रहा हूँ। आपका बात सुनने में अच्छा लगता है मुझे हमेशा, कि आप बहुत ही एक्सपीरियंस लीडर है मार्केट्स में। So I work in a foreign exchange risk management firm. So I handle in import export related hedging. So I have a view that rupee थोड़ा सा appreciate होने की chances है before rising further. बिकॉज ऐसा लग रहा है कि डॉलर विल गिव अप ऑफ पोस्ट फेड मीटिंग, बिकॉज फेड का जो उन्होंने सिग्नल दिया था 100 बेसिस पॉइंट, उसके जगह उन्होंने 75 बेसिस पॉइंट का हाइक किया. So it will market will take it as a dovish, and already the bond yields of 30-year and 10-year yields are already showing a fall. So I feel USD INR has to come back to 79 level, and after that it might again go to 81 82 levels. ये मेरा view है.
बट वो जरूरी नहीं है ना कि इंडिया का यूएस के साथ में मूव है.
हाँ नहीं सर, मैं अभी देख रहा हूँ फिलहाल अभी 2-3 दिन से तो प्रीमियम्स बढ़ गए हैं यूएसडी आईएनआर के. मंथ एंड का यूजुअली लास्ट जून में मैंने देखा था, जून जुलाई में, तो वो 14 पैसे तक क्रैश हुआ था यूएसडी आईएनआर का प्रीमियम. बट अभी नाउ इट इज अगेन गॉन टू 25 पैसा. सो देर इज सम डिमांड फॉर द लोकल करेंसी. It's going up because I had see the news that Shaktikanta Das had gone to the Singapore to meet the FPI investors also, and I don't know, after that I have seen the lot of inflows, 5G related inflows are there. So I speak to the bankers on daily basis, so I get to know that there are lot of inflows are lined up. So the whenever it will touch 80 levels, you will see a selling there. 5G का inflows आ पड़ा है market में.
Saurabh, I just want to ask you, why
Yeah.
would somebody borrow 5G money from abroad if you consider the domestic cost of borrowing today? It is
हाँ.
actually cheaper than borrowing abroad. So why would somebody, including the hedging cost and the, I mean, if you just take the minimum borrowing cost, say at
Yeah,
3%,
LIBOR. Yeah, I understood. But still, they are taking ECBs. You will see Airtel and all, or Adani and all. They will go for ECBs only.
at,
That's the issue.
at
Yeah,
what,
yeah. The
at,
borrowing cost is going to go higher.
yes, at what rate would they borrow ECBs?
So the general rate is something 300 pips is the fixed margin what banks take
Yeah.
plus
So
LIBOR rate.
So exactly. So their actual overall cost of borrowing will be at least 7-8%, right?
Yeah,
I
and
mean
might
more
be
than
this the
amount for
liquidity,
9%.
issue. I think with the bank, I don't know, Indian banks are into the position to provide that kind of liquidity of the burning hand into the telecom sector. That is the another this
The
sign you can take.
No, the telecom sector today is so profitable, except for Vodafone Idea, which has now become a government company because the government of India has a stake over there.
Yeah,
Today, I mean, today the rates are so good for farm. I think the margins of these for telecom companies are like above 50%. This is the highest margins that the telecom companies are ever earning in ever since existence in India. So I
yeah.
don't think there is an issue about the balance sheet. I mean, I'm just saying, if HDFC Bank is saying that I'm with such a low cost of funding, I'm struggling to grow corporate lending. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
why would somebody go abroad and borrow at a higher effective rate? I'm totally confused.
Yeah, that I also need to. Means I'm not that much into detail, but whenever I talk to the bankers, while like I have a lot of importer exporters where we do hedging for them. So while taking, we get to know that yes, there are inflows now lined up for July, August. So that is why I'm thinking that July and on August would be a good for a rupee, because there is from last 6-7 months rupee has been consistent weaker against dollar. So there might be some respite till in August month. I feel August September before rising further.
And one more question I had: in when you talk to all these exporters and importers,
Yeah.
uh, what do you think that a lot of the exporters have actually not brought their dollars back? and they're just waiting for the rupee to depreciate.
Yes, yes. I have convinced lot of exporters recently for 80 levels. Still, they are not ready for doing hedging. So they are yet to offload their dollars. Importers are buying each dip. They are not allowing. So the moment, like a lot of importers has given me the instruction, the moment we see a dip of 20-30 paisa, you have to buy dollars. So that's the thing. That is why you'll see each dip is covered within 5-2 minutes.
And one more last, there was an article today or yesterday saying that the RBI has been not easily giving, when he's instructed banks that any HNI or small little corporate wants to borrow dollars or send dollars, sorry, not borrow dollars, but rather send dollars abroad, remit
Okay.
dollars. Apparently, the banks are pushing back to the HNI saying they're not getting those limits. Is that true? There was an article today because
I didn't say. I had to go through that. I know.
that that to my mind is a very desperate measure. That if somebody wants
Okay.
to limit dollars and the banks are actually pushing back and saying no, we've not got limits, then we have a problem.
I think then individual bank has their own net worth position with the RBI. So if the limits are full, that is why the banks might be not allowing HNIs. That's the issue. I don't know. I have to go through that article.
No, a question from me.
Yeah.
Suppose, as Anand said, euro is down by 1 pip.
Yeah.
And if it goes down another 1 pip, so again we'll be at 80.50 or something because of the dollar index.
Yes. I think my view is you will see euro and GBP falling. Like euro will come below USD INR level. So you will see euro INR trading around 77, 76 levels. It will take time, but in 2-3 months time, you will see euro INR will be lower than USD INR, and GBP INR I have sold from 104 levels. So I'm short since 104 level on GBP INR for all exporters. So for GBP also you will see 85 to 90 zone in 6 months because the UK is in very poor condition. Just that they
No,
have
but
not accepted the thing.
now how much it is?
Now it is 94
Oh,
GBP INR. 96, sorry. 96.
okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Saurabh, Devashish here. One
Yeah. Hi.
question: this exchange rate. So I'm expecting 82 at the maximum, but
Yeah.
other than that point, my point is right now the on the short term it is getting determined through flows, but
Yes.
on
Yes.
the long term, the fiscal deficit and inflation in India. Uh,
Yeah.
what is the outlook on that? Yeah, next 6 months or 1 year, will it deteriorate further? Because end of the day, gas and petroleum they should hit us on inflation,
Yeah,
right?
one
Fiscal
thing
deficit. So what is
one
the
thing I
outlook
have
on
to
that?
put a one thing I have to put a caveat that if crude, this Russia Ukraine issue is on till December, November, December, Jan next year, then crude goes up, then this fiscal deficit, current account deficit will widen. And if crude, like Russia war and all this gets solved, then the crude, because crude's value is actually $60, $60 to $70. If it comes down, then the issue will not prop up. The two things.
So to that extent, I mean, are we holding Russian balls in our hand? That is the question.
Yeah, India is comfortable with that. India already India want to make rupee ruble payment system, but they have not officially declared it.
Okay. So therefore, so the caveat you are saying is essentially if we are able to control the external situation, uh,
Yes, crude is
fiscally
the
we
pain.
should be able
Crude
to
is the
control.
pain. Crude is the pain for rupee, and you will see crude will fall because crude is overvalued. Because if you see the current all economic data of the global countries, it is very weak, and there is no demand for the crude. It just because of Russia, just one day positive, one day negative comment, it is leading higher. Otherwise, crude's value is $60 to $70 per barrel.
So it is not the officially declared number. For us, it is
Yeah,
60 to $70. That is
yeah,
comfortable. Okay.
yeah.
So then the question is, next 6 months, what is the outlook? How are you guys looking into December and let's say March?
Now, now if you look, I see the range of 80 to 82 levels till October, November. But after that, again, rupee might strengthen a little bit, because I fear that Fed might take U-turn on the rate hike and they will start doing rate cut looking at the poor economic data and recession fears. So after that, if the moment they start again printing money, dollar will again crash down, like from Jan next year.
So which is therefore a problem for IT companies.
Yeah, again, IT, yes, IT will be struggling.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Now we have
Sir, update hai बस. Because telecom में I don't know how many people realize, but postpaid customers are essentially, this is a statistic before Vodafone merged with Idea, that in Vodafone, 5% of customers gave 25% of revenue, which was the postpaid customer base. And I'm an Airtel postpaid, and for the first time, I'm seeing, today I got an SMS which said that my plan has increased by 200 rupees. I think it is slightly higher because it was kind of confusing. So maybe let's say another 50 rupees. And so that, I mean, if postpaid is increasing by what, let's say minimum, my plan was 999, which is a family plan, it's become 1199. Plus they were saying something about data which I could not follow. I'll ask them, but I just thought I'll just put it out there if other people are not aware.
No, that's very interesting data, Devashish. It's actually market moving data if it's not already announced officially.
Yeah, I got a SMS today saying that my plan has changed. So I have a family pack, right? Me and my kids and my iPad. So
So
that's
it's very interesting. Devashish is very interesting, but if I look at data, if you look at the 60 GB or 2 GB per day prepaid plan, I think it is about 500 rupees for 28 days. And if I look at, I think since I'm based in Asia, the in Singapore you get 100 GB for $10, 4 GB data, 4G data. Okay, this is prepaid. That's about 570 rupees. So actually, if you think about it, in fact, I was surprised to learn that Israel data is cheaper than India now, and a couple of other countries. Which we were always saying that we were the cheapest in data, but because of the significant price hikes that have continued to happen in India, we are now not cheapest any longer, but we are actually as expensive or maybe 10% cheaper than a country like Singapore, where the purchasing power is much, much higher, several times higher. And this is in rupee to rupee terms. Huh? Surprising, right?
Mm-hmm. No, so my expectations is that okay. So way back in, we are going off topic into Airtel. Would that be okay?
No, it won't be okay because it will
be
take a lot of time. हाँ सुरगेव भाई बोलिए.
शरद भाई, मैं ये जानना चाह रहा था कि अगर डॉलर है जो डियरर हो रहा है तो हमारे एक्सपोर्ट्स बढ़ेंगे एंड इंपोर्ट्स कम हो जाएंगे, तो ट्रेड डिफिसिट कम होगा. तो उसका एक, अगर एक्सपोर्ट्स बढ़ेंगे तो डॉलर ज्यादा आएंगे, तो इट विल नॉट अलाउड डॉलर टू ग्रो बियॉन्ड ए पॉइंट.
Agree. You are right. ऐसा ही होगा.
So if the question is, at what dollar rupee would that really impact imports?
See, that imports will get hit because at least even if that 5% imports get hit and 5% exports rise, because exports will become more competitive because like our neighboring countries, Bangladesh, even textiles will exports will rise from India. So many other pharmaceuticals already we are the one of the leading exports. So they will become more competitive and they compete better. So there's a trade deficit will come, the rupee will become strong. So there's some equilibrium will be found somewhere, maybe 79, 78.
So can I correct you over there? Europe is a fairly decent export market to us, and the euro has crashed. Japan is a very large exporter and may not compete with us, but they are a large exporter, and they are a large exporter of electronics, which we import. Korea is a large exporter of electronics, which we import. China is, of course, as well. So, but Japan and Korea's currencies have depreciated more than India. So it doesn't necessarily mean that our, a competitiveness on export markets has improved. In fact, our export market in Europe has actually become worse off for us, and competition from Japan and Korea has become worse off for us. Look at it that way.
Our 30% net exports are to the states, and we are the that surplus against the USA in exports. Okay, and most of our exports are in dollar terms. Very few are in euro and that European currencies. So whenever you make, except Great Britain, the pound sterling, some of the Euro countries are European Union. So that amount is individual countries is not very big. Collectively, there may be large amount, and except UK, there's most of the countries. France is not getting affected much. Germany is still not getting affected much from the recession. So and there's a fixed exports to these countries. They are not seasonal. They cannot do without Indian exports in those commodities which we export. So they are bound to import them. But like in the particularly USA market is more attractive for the exports point of view, because it's more countries compete for the USA market, even China, Bangladesh, Pakistan. So that way, I'm sure that Indian economy and 4-5 days trend is also showing that I'm sure that 80 breach was an somewhat abnormal, and in a short span by before Diwali we'll be better off.
Okay, thank you. Amit, बोलिए.
हेलो सर, गुड इवनिंग. साहब भाई, गुड इवनिंग.
गुड इवनिंग जी, कई दिनों के बाद.
हाँ सर, थोड़ा सा कुछ इश्यूज में स्टक थे तो टाइम नहीं मिला कई दिन से. और कैसे हैं सर आप? बढ़िया.
बढ़िया बढ़िया.
ये सर, ये इंफोसिस ओनली टू बाय, ये सैकेरिज्म है या कुछ और है? मतलब मुझे तो वही लग रहा है फिलहाल, ये मतलब व्हाट एवर इट इज. मेरा ऐसा कोई अभी तो ऐसा कुछ मेरे को समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. मेरे को लगता है कि शायद 1400 तो बहुत इजीली ये हिट कर ही लेगा 1-2 दिन के अंदर. वॉल्यूम फॉल है थोड़ा सा आज, तो लेट्स सी. हम मार्केट के बारे में जो मेरा व्यू है,
नहीं सर, आज इन्फोसिस का ही है सर.
इंफोसिस का ही है ना? तो सर इंफोसिस के बारे में तो मेरा अभी ऐसा कुछ मेरा तो बाई का व्यू नहीं है. आपका अगर है, जैसा भी है, जिस भी टोन में ये है, आई एम नॉट एक्सपेक्टिंग एनी. अब मुझे आईटी का सर प्रॉब्लम है ना, आईटी के बॉटम लाइन में प्रॉब्लम है. आईटी कंपनीज के टॉप लाइन में उतनी प्रॉब्लम नहीं है ना. पिछले क्वार्टर में थी ना, इस क्वार्टर में कोई खास है, बट इनके बॉटम लाइंस में प्रॉब्लम है. तो जब तक इनके बॉटम लाइंस सफ़र करेंगे, आई डोंट थिंक कि मेरे लिए जो रियल पैनिक है वो 1400 के बाद स्टार्ट होगा. बट अभी तो माइट भी 1400 तक तो मैं कुछ खास रिएक्शन नहीं, बट 1400 के नीचे आई विल बी मोर बेरिश इन इंफोसिस एज ऑफ नाउ. बस बाकी अब इसी पे तो, इस पे तो मेरा सर टेक ये कि नहीं, मेरे लिए तो कोई बाइंग अपॉर्चुनिटी इसके अंदर कहीं से भी मुझे नज़र नहीं आ रही है. सो आई एम क्वाइट न्यूट्रल ऑन इट. 1400 के नीचे अग्रेसिव सेलिंग फॉर द टारगेट ऑफ थोड़े ज़्यादा नीचे के हैं 1055. सो लेट्स सी, आई हैव नो आइडिया जाएगा कि नहीं जाएगा.
Okay, Samad, Amaya is there. Why don't you invite him?
भेज दिया सर इनवाइट अमेया जी को.
Azo Hunt,
यस सर.
बोलो.
नहीं सर, इन्फोसिस का सर सेम है सर. 1380 के नीचे मतलब सेलिंग प्रेशर हो सकता है. और सर बाइंग का तो सर मेरा ऐसा है कि सर मैं 16 या 17 के पी का वेट कर सकता हूँ, क्योंकि यहाँ से अगर बाइंग अपॉर्चुनिटी बनती भी है तो सर मैक्स टू मैक्स 10 से 15% का ही रिटर्न मिल सकता है. एज लॉन्ग एज डॉलर इंडेक्स जो ऊपर अगर जब तक रहेगा तो मतलब सर मेरे उस पे तो मुझे नहीं लगता है कि इधर से इन्फोसिस में बाय बनना चाहिए.
एक बात बोलो.
यस सर.
1300 1400 1500 कुछ भी भाव, अब पैसा है किसी के पास में ज्यादा शेयर लेने के लिए अभी, बिकॉज सब लोग इन्वेस्टेड हो गए हैं। अब सब ताली मार रहे हैं, कब बढ़े कब बढ़े। तो ये जैसे जैसे भाव घटेगा ना, बाइंग पावर भी बहुत ही कम हो जाएगा। इट इज नोन एज एक्सीलरेटिंग इफेक्ट। जैसा भाव डाउन डिमांड डाउन, भाव डाउन डिमांड डाउन, क्योंकि ऑलरेडी ऊपर का बहुत फंसा है माल, और 2000 से 1447 है आज। तो आई डोंट थिंक कि किसी के पास में जगह होगा ज्यादा लेने। या गो अहेड।
ये सर सेम चीज है सर, क्योंकि सर एसेंचर ज्यादा अच्छे रीजनेबल रेट पे दिख रहा है, और नहीं तो एडीपी एक और एक कंपनी है, मतलब उनका वैल्यूएशन फिर भी ज्यादा बेटर लगता है इन्फोसिस और टीसीएस के मुकाबले, मतलब आज के वैल्यूएशन के हिसाब से। राइट सर। हो गया सर, दैट्स इट सर।
थैंक यू।
थैंक यू सर।
अमया भाई आओ नहीं लाइन पे यार। ओके, राजीव सोनी जी बोलिए। दिल्ली वाले, जयपुर वाले बोलिए।
Sharad bhai, good evening. Saran bhai, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Fact Finder, good evening, and all dear friends. So Sharad bhai, just wanted to share experience for last 1 week. So against your advice, I'm just learning a little bit technicals and all, but I'm not become perpetual bearish, but I've seen a lot of learning for the last 2 weeks. So because of you and because of your team and because of constant, listening all skills from you guys, not good, but yeah, slightly made amount in shorting, but against your advice, shorted Nifty because as per your advice, I was not finding, but short selling is an art. So I was not finding any good stocks. So I'm learning, still I'm learning. But yeah, again, today was a good short on TCS. So I would like to thank you first of all again because you advised, I think so, last month, I don't know, about ITC if I'm not wrong. You started accumulating ITC also when it was 278, I think so. So that helped me a lot, and you have saved a lot of money. And the other advice you gave me, Kiraji, you just concentrate on your business and all. So this year we have given phenomenal result of class 12 CBSC. We have given like 7 toppers in Delhi. So whenever I listen to you, you are a learning machine actually, fact finder, you people and all. So again, I would like to thank you. But just one question apart from Infi, would to allow me very short question.
Yes, yes.
So Sharad bhai, how to actually, because I've been, it's not necessary. I should get the reply in this space right now. But I really want to learn how to exactly find the intrinsic and good value of a stock when to buy. So can you throw a little bit light on that? Any particular thing from your experiences throughout your journey?
I buy only MNC stocks. They are very expensive.
Okay.
Unheard of P 60, 70, and it is maintained throughout. Okay.
Yeah.
So if I buy, say, Siemens or Procter and Gamble or anything, the price will be there only. It won't change. And every year it gives me a return of 15%. That's it. There is no rocket science, please. My IQ must be in minus. I'm a dunce. But in investments, I'm very good.
So if I talk about, sorry, yes, sir.
No, you go ahead.
So if I talk about, suppose as a novice trader, if I don't know, and you're saying MNC, if I talk about Nestle, and if I start accumulating at this price only, or you talk about Siemens,
No. I'm stopping you. I'm not talking of Nestle and Lever.
Okay, okay.
I am talking of industrials.
Industrials. Okay, got it, got it.
ABB ले लो, अच्छा रहेगा आपके लिए.
And you remember you advised Vardhaman also, that also give a decent return and all. So ABB. So in that, if I start accommodating from this price itself, is it good? Like start.
राजीव भाई,
Yeah.
सोना लेते जाते हो, 100 रुपया कम में लोगे या ज्यादा में लोगे, क्या फर्क पड़ेगा?
नहीं फर्क पड़ेगा, ऑनेस्टली नहीं पड़ेगा.
फिर क्यों ऐसा मेंटालिटी?
राइट 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 सर.
लेना है तो दिल खोल के ले लो, बेचना है तो दिल खोल के बेच दो. और एक बात बोल रहा था आपको, वर्धमान ये भी और वो थोड़ा इधर कंसोलिडेट होगा, but definitely it will go 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 in few years.
Wonderful, wonderful, Shraddha. And ironically, what your space is always so balanced with Fact Finder, with Samad Bhai, with DJ and all. It is never perpetual bullish or never perpetual, bearish. So I request you to, keep just having all these spaces and all, because for us, I always wait for this and I always make notes and all. So thank you so much and thank you, dear friends. Take care, Shraddha Bhai.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, sir.
Good night.
वो ये अपने अमैया को ले ना यार, वो क्यों
सर
नहीं?
भेजा वापस भेजा सर, वापस भेजा. अभी वो लेंगे तो आ जाएंगे सर. अभी आए थे. आई थिंक देयर इज सम कनेक्शन इश्यू.
I also know. नवीन भाई को ले, नवीन जोशी.
उनको भी भेजा है मैंने, वापस भेजता हूँ.
हाँ, आ गया अमैया भाई. हाँ अमैया भाई बोलो. दे रहा है, दुरुस्त है, बोलिए. हेलो हेलो अमैया. He's not there. Anybody wants to ask any question?
अमैया, can you unmute?
DJ, you want to speak something?
भेजा इनवाइट उनको.
Okay, it's not happening. So friends, before I wrap up this thing, lot of people are messing with me. I'm not.
जी, गुड इवनिंग.
गुड इवनिंग.
वो रही बात सर इन्फी की, कोई इंटरेस्ट ही नहीं है. इन्फोसिस 500 जाए 600 जाए, वो नन ऑफ माय बिजनेस. वो रही बात, वो ऋषि बागरी, वो दैट व्हाट्सएप यूनिवर्सिटी गए, उसने क्या ट्वीट करा था, वो आपको ट्रोल कर रहा था. तो आज खैर मैंने तो आज अच्छा खासा अपना एक्सेस ठोका था, तो कमाया 10-12 लाख. बट मेरे एक कजन ने आज इन्फोसिस ठोका और उसने आज अराउंड 10-15 लाख रुपए छाप लिए. तो वो स्क्रीनशॉट मैंने उसको ऋषि बागरी को भेज दिया कि ले भाई. वो भेज दिया सर. वो यही ट्रोल कर रहा था ना कि ये वो. पर उसके आप खुद के ट्वीट देखो, मतलब क्या बंदा, क्या वो व्हाट्सएप यूनिवर्सिटी से लाता है. मतलब पूरा दिन आई गेस व्हाट्सएप यूनिवर्सिटी पे ही बैठा रहता है कि हाँ ये आ गया ट्वीट, ये करो, ये आ गया, ये करो. मतलब लोगों को मिसगाइड करो जितना कर सकते हो, जितना मेरी कैपेसिटी में है. इसके अपार्ट फ्रॉम इट हिज केपेबल ऑफ नथिंग.
अरे बस इतना मत सोचा करो ट्रोलर के बारे में. अगर आप मेरा अकाउंट देखोगे, आई हैव ब्लॉक्ड मोर देन 16,000 पीपल.
अरे नहीं, अरे ट्रोल मेरे का थोड़ा करा. ट्रोल इनको शरद जी को करा था, तो मैंने तो उसको ऑन हिज फेस, तो मैंने तो ट्वीट करा कि ले भाई इन्फोसिस शॉर्ट मारा, शरद सर की एडवाइस सुन के।
अरे रोज मैं 100-150 लोगों को ब्लॉक करता रहता हूँ। काय टेंशन ले रहे हो, काय सोच रहे हो? शरद भाई को भी बोल रहा हूँ, क्यों सोच रहे हो? ब्लॉक
अरे
करो, आगे बढ़ो, खत्म।
अरे भाई भाई, एक मिनट, ये अभी आप लोग सुनो मेरा।
हाँ बोलिए बोलिए बोलिए।
कम से कम 16-17 प्रमोटर लोग को सुला दिया।
पता है आपका हिस्ट्री किसको पता नहीं है? सबको
नहीं,
पता है।
सुनो।
हाँ
अनिल अंबानी के मुंह पे बोला था कि तेरे को 0 करके मारूंगा। 2017 में समीर गहलोत को बोला था 0 कर दूंगा। ओके, तो भी ऐसे आदमियों से टकराता हूँ तो ये चिल्लर पार्टी फॉलोअर लेके आ जाते हैं, उसका वैल्यू क्या है? अब मेरे लिए कुछ भी नहीं है।
सर इफ आई टेल अबाउट हिम कि वो किस टाइप की स्पेसेस करता है कि लाइक शॉपिंग ऑनलाइन एंड ऑफलाइन, लाइक ट्रेडिशंस, ये वो, मतलब लाइक आप उसका लेवल आप समझ लो कि हाउ।
नहीं भाई साहब, आई मीन नो कंपैरिजन विथ हिम।
नहीं
मेरे को
उसका क्या आपके साथ कंपैरिजन सर? वो तो क्या, तो हिज अ नोबडी एट द एंड ऑफ द डे, इज अ नोबडी।
Sir,
मतलब लाइक बस
let's
उसको
not.
ठीक है।
अटेंशन चाहिए, अपार्ट फ्रॉम
My
इट नथिंग।
request, let's not talk about him and give him any of our time.
Importance है।
It's not worthy of our. He's not worthy of our time.
हाँ, अरे प्लीज
ओके,
कंटिन्यू। बस मेरा तो यही था कि आज
And
ऋषि को मैंने ट्रोल
very
कर
very well
दिया।
done विजय, आपका मैंने सुना आपने क्या किया, very very well done. So, but
हाँ
उसको
प्लीज
ज्यादा.
प्लीज प्लीज कंटिन्यू, प्लीज थैंक यू।
अरे
Thank you
भाई,
विजय जी.
इधर कुछ स्पीकर भी है जिन्होंने मेरे को ट्रोल किया था, उनको भी ब्लॉक कर दिया है। क्या बात कर, छोड़ो यार, आगे बढ़ो, आगे बढ़ो लाइफ में, खत्म।
तो
मार्केट्स को ऑन बराबर।
डीजे भाई और कुछ बोलना है तेरे को?
No, nothing new to add, sir. I think everybody has covered whatever I had to say.
Srinivasan, you want to speak something?
भेजा इनवाइट में उनको. Good evening, Srini ji.
Good evening, Samarth bhai. Good evening, Sharad sir. Sorry, I'm late. No, I actually was very keen to listen on everyone's views. Missed it. मैं बाद में recording सुन लूँगा. No major view except that I am suspecting maybe I am the market mover. क्योंकि जिस दिन मैंने रात को ट्वीट कर दिया परमा बेयर कैपिटुलेशन, अगले दिन से मूड सबका चेंज हो गया, मार्केट भी चेंज हो गया. So interesting times. So I don't know how to read this market. And naturally I don't go to bed without a short. So ठीक है, but but it's very confusing. I'm waiting for Fed and there's some interesting. I don't know if it got discussed. He's going to drop rate hike guidance. So I don't know how Wall Street is going to take it. It's quite but in one way it's good. So short term, maybe people will be bullish, saying, "Oh, this means no rapid rate hikes or rate hikes are slowing down." But 2-3 दिन बाद आई थिंक लोगों को लगेगा क्या फेड को मतलब तो गाड़ी कौन चला रहा है अगर ये रेट हाइक गाइडेंस नहीं दे रहा है. तो फिर गाड़ी कौन चला रहा है. सो वेरी दिस इज गोइंग टू बी वेरी मोर हिस्टोरिक देन आई रियलाइज फेडरल रिजर्व मीटिंग.
I can ask you one thing.
यस सर.
आप एक शॉट के मार के सो जाते हैं, मतलब वो कौन सा शॉट मारते हैं? कोक का मारता है क्या?
नहीं सर. Usually 1.5 month out Nifty. I know आपको Nifty playing अच्छा मतलब आप recommend करते हो ना खेले, but I also agree it's a sentiment indicator. It's not a stock index.
अरे मैं पूछा, एक शॉट मार के रात को आप सो जाता है ना?
अरे सर मार्केट में शॉर्ट मार के.
अच्छा, मैं सोचा अरे यार, मार्केट को छोड़ो ना, क्या फर्क पड़ता है? I thought you are doing something, some uh, marijuana or.
नहीं सर, market is giving enough highs if we are playing it the right way.
So we'll wrap it up.
Yes, sir.
Anybody wants to say anything, please?
Sharad ji, why are you limiting the discussion only to infy?
Because whoever is not speaking anything sensible, I say it is for him.
Okay. No, I wanted to ask anybody who wants to discuss. Asian Paints had come out with the results today. I thought they were quite strong. I keep wondering, honestly, I'm surprised personally. I know it was a low base quarter but having said that, the numbers are pretty strong. Srini, you have any thoughts on it? If anybody's got thoughts on, what are they seeing on
Srinivasan, anybody.
Yeah, on paint, because who the hell is painting so much? It's painting is a very expensive affair. It's not a cheap affair anywhere.
Right finder, I made money today when the results came by shorting Asian Paints for just 10-15 minutes. So that's it.
ठीक है आधा इधर भेज देना Srini.
Sir, on paints, fact finder, there are two trends which I keep bouncing my perma bear views, recession and all that. A lot of it is getting resonated with friends in FMCG. Like Coke is having rocking numbers in India, and Coke brand, I mean, it does really well in recessions. So paints may two trends are standing out. One is formal construction has given way to informal. So a lot of people are developing their own छोटा land. मतलब जैसे 10-20 साल पहले ज़्यादा common था. A lot of India has gone back to that, and वो construction खुद करा रहे, paints खुद खरीद रहे. So that continues, I believe. The second is Bangalore, parts of Chennai and Hyderabad. Real estate तो चले जा रहा है, commercial, residential construction चले जा रहा है. बाद में क्या होगा, will it be like a long slump for 5-10 years after another 5 years, वो किसको नहीं पड़ी है. लेकिन there seems to be genuine sales and activity going on. Maybe these are
No,
propping it up, I feel.
no, that's for sure. A lot of activity around south. Plenty. North is bad. South is rocking. Yes, Srini. Oh,
सर रियल एस्टेट में अगर आप बैंगलोर का मार्केट देखें, so Bangalore is a one horse town, unlike Delhi and Mumbai, which are quite diversified now. Delhi used to be a one horse town 40 years back when only the central government used to be the engine. Now it's different. But Bangalore is a one horse town. Only the IT industry, basic. So even, I mean, uh, getting domestic help out there is more expensive. So that is the reason of real estate in Bangalore. But the question, sir, मुझे जो समझ नहीं आ रहा ना, because I've encountered high attrition in salary, employment. What does 25% mean? So if let's say a company and large size IT company has 2 lakh people, so where are those people going? Because effectively what it means is across a TCS, an Accenture also must be going through an attrition in India. Let's say there are 20 lakh people, right, across, which means at 20% attrition, that's 4 lakh people changing jobs in a year. Plus they're doing incremental employment at the lowest level. So where are those people going? Because that churn in employee base is getting absorbed somewhere.
There
That
are
is
5.5.
there an insight?
There are 5.5 million people, and this year and last year, I think the industry added about 500,000 people. If you think about, 10% is the new people who being added, to 10-12%, maybe a little more on a net basis, not on a gross basis. And if you think about, for every new job that is going to be added, and another two people leave the firm, that's how you'll get that kind of number. So I mean, that's the way I can justify the numbers that you're talking about, and it's a
No,
lot more than 400,000 people.
no. That's an example I'm giving. What I'm saying is the employee churn, when the way they're calculating churn is obviously people who are leaving, right? That's there's a gross number there. So they're obviously getting absorbed somewhere. It's not that they're leaving the industry.
Not swaps, right? One guy is getting multiple offers from many other places and joining another place. It's the same pool, right? That's it. They're all doing round robin.
So for us, the concern is that they're leaving listed companies and they're going into unlisted entities which have set up back offices in India. This was a question I think few days back also someone wanted to know that. So now, which means there's a wage inflation overall happening, and it's quite secular and it's here to stay. But it's happening within the listed entities. One guy leaving from Infosys going into TCS, he won't move from Bangalore to Bombay. But what I'm trying to say is that that is a different kind of an attrition which is happening. So that's what is the flow to understand if there's any insight there or not.
Devashish, I can offer two pointers. One is the what I'll call good attrition. Matlab, jobs are I'm on the consumer side always. So this global captive center is a big trend. The numbers are large. Now be 30 lakh type ho jayega, I think unka head count. And they're growing gangbusters. So that is create and these Infosys, TCS are very good training grounds for them to poach from. The consumer side say bad attrition. Anecdotal evidence, but a lot of my cousins in their 30s have been like kind of moved out of Infosys TCS. And उनमें से आधा लोग ये इंटीरियर्स का काम कर रहे हैं अभी बैंगलोर एंड हैदराबाद में. So because in 30s onwards you're not employable in the earlier career path logic कि मैं project manager बनूंगा, senior project manager बनूंगा. अभी it's coder, yeah, one boss who's quite some levels away. This I'm calling the bad attrition because this is going to create a lot of problems for our long-term growth story. That guys in the 30s don't have stable incomes. तो 4-5 साल बाद पता नहीं होम लोन किसको देंगे हम लोग. But so I mean sorry, come back to the point. ये दो pointers I can really speak strongly about.
Okay. Amaya is here. Amaya, you made us wait long, huh?
Hello, sir. This space has got some weird issues with wireless headsets. So I had to log out, log in many times.
No
Sorry
problem.
for that. So I'll just quickly make a few points on this attrition topic that we are discussing. So, to answer in one line, everybody is going everywhere. So, at least if I look at my circle, people are literally switching their jobs in less than 6-7 months of joining. And in some cases, 6-7 months is even longer. So, log literally 3 महीने जा रहे हैं, they don't like the manager, they don't like the project. They already have at least 2-3, more interviews in their hands. So ये जो सडन रिक्रूटमेंट का गश फ्लो आया हुआ है, ये थोड़ा सा स्टेबलाइज होना जरूरी है. सो दैट्स व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज हैपनिंग इन द मार्केट. अर्लियर ऐसा होता था कि एटलीस्ट एचआर यूज्ड टू क्वेश्चन, और एटलीस्ट वी have been hiring since long time, and we used to ask this question that why are you changing your job in less than 2 years? So because 2 साल से पहले आपको नहीं समझ में आता है कि क्या सही है क्या गलत है. I mean, of course कुछ लोग उसको contradict करेंगे, but the thing is you have to give some time when you get into a new role, right? So for people to get to know you. But unfortunately now people are focused only on one thing: how can I get a person hired and fill this opening that I have with my company. People are not asking this question, तुम 3 महीने में क्यों change कर रहे हो, 2 महीने में, 6 महीने में. So that's what's currently happening. So everybody is going everywhere. That's why everybody is reporting the ever increasing attrition number. In case of Accenture also, if you see, Accenture made an interesting comment that their Western attrition is not that high, but the overall attrition is 20%, mainly driven by India, right? So that's what exactly is happening. And I believe there is a revenge attrition kind of a thing at play. Because काफी जगह पे people were not happy with their pay structure, opportunities and career scale up and all those kind of things. I mean, somebody who has to do it will do it regardless, nonetheless. But people were not happy, and the pay structure was, I think that changed very significantly, and people are trying to see कि ये 6-8 महीने मेरे पास है, इसमें मैं कितना ज्यादा क्लाइंब अप कर सकता हूँ, मैं करूँ. And that's what exactly is happening. But again, let's look at the other side of it. Once it start normalizing, these people who have been hired at insane salaries and unjustifiable roles, they will be the first to put on the reviews, right? I mean, the expectation, if you are joining on a 3x salary, it would be like you work at least multiple projects at the same time. You don't complain, at least work 15-16 hours, and if you complain, you would be immediately put on a review. So अभी हम लोग सिर्फ अट्रिशन देख रहे हैं. ये जो मैंने बात किया, we will start seeing that sometime down the line, and that's what will bring our attrition significantly down. And another point, I think some companies are doing really good. It's not that it's a blanket issue with the sector as such. Some companies are doing good. Infy is also doing pretty well. I can't share some numbers, of course, for obvious reasons, but they are doing pretty well compared to their listed top tier counterparts. Let's see. I mean, it's a pain for a couple of quarters, and as I mentioned in one of the spaces earlier, it's a recalibration of the expectation. That's what exactly is happening. Nobody really saw that the COVID revenue or the digital revenue was a lumpy in a nature, and people are realizing that now. Market is realizing that now, and that's why we will see the recalibration of the expectations, and hence these retracements are coming up. But on a sector overall, I am still quite very bullish.
So, Amir, just tell me one thing. The attrition of 25% is something which I have seen before the 2008 crisis. If you look at, approximately between the internet bust of 2001, so 2002 to 2007, there was this huge attrition, which was like for 3-4 years, 25%, 30%. It went up that much also. It was quite painful. But that, right. So this is again happening now. Now, what happens in the IT industry because of this, if you were to project further, and therefore, how do you see the IT companies handle this, especially with the rupee strengthening? Let's assume that.
Well, I'm not a forex guy, so rupee ka impact, I think
just
other people can definitely
project it out if you can.
But the kind of position I am at, I can definitely say that there are multiple levers that these companies are going to pull, and it's not something that you will start seeing the effect immediately in 2-3 quarters. It's going to take a significant amount of time. First of all, the leading indicator to see this trend stabilizing is the reduction of the subcon cost, because that's what exactly is eating up the margins that these companies are making. The moment we see the subcons are falling, that's a leading indicator that the attrition is actually really, really slowing down.
What is subcon?
Sorry?
What is subcon? Subcontractor?
Yeah, subcontractor cost.
Okay.
So that is the lead indicator that I always track. And currently the subcon cost for TCS, Infosys, I look at these two companies only, is significantly high. So the moment we see a downtick in a subcon cost, I would start looking at the effort mix when it comes to the on-site offshore ratio. So I see that falling as well. I mean, skewed towards the India. So India contribution to the mix will go up. That is one thing. That is second thing. And see, everybody, sir, to be very honest, everybody knows जो भी बंदा ऐसे unjustifiable salary पे गया है, there are frameworks, there are review techniques, and I already know from some of the HR friends who are working in this top 2-3 companies, they already have a review framework outlined for people who have joined on a desperate roles. So they have started segregating or say categorizing certain roles as desperate roles, roles for which you immediately have a contract in hand and you have to serve those contracts, and you need a talent who will come in, drive the project and do the execution. If you're not doing that, you would be immediately terminated, right? So there are hundreds of ways to terminate an employee. So I don't see why companies will not do that. um, I think it will stabilize in 2-3 quarters, but uh, let's see. I mean, situation is very fluid, to be very honest, at the moment.
Thank you.
I want to ask you a very stupid question. Does Accenture pay well?
Is Accenture doing well?
No, pay well to the employees.
Nice, sir. Nice. When it comes to India business, they are as bad as Infosys, to be very honest.
Sir, इनका ना क्या होता है, what they do is this is the way they pay. Okay, and for me this was very surprising. So for instance, telecom and IT companies grade themselves at the same level at the same industry. Telecom companies, I remember, they pay at the 90th percentile, whereas Wipro pays at the 70th percentile. So, and what I also noticed when I joined IT was that I was looked at the pay levels and the experience. So what has really happened over the last 10 years, it's, I mean, though I'm no longer in the companies, is that salary increases, I was surprised, used to happen at the rate of 2%. The 2% is US inflation rate. India where the inflation rate is higher. But that is how they've been paying up to 2015 or 14, which is really bad. So this spurt which has happened is to that extent, मतलब भड़ास जो है ना खुली है अभी. So this spurt has happened, and people are therefore going to make hay. But IT companies typically pay at the 70, at the 2/3 percentile. Other companies pay at a higher level. Telecom companies pay higher. Maybe not at 90 percentile because that was long time back. Maybe at the 85th percentile.
But I was under the impression that Accenture is the best company and this and that. So they don't pay well. Very strange.
No, it's only for India business. So if you look at the way Accenture structures a project, 95 or probably let's take that as a ballpark figure. 90 to 95% of the projects are typically executed by somebody who is coming from a consulting background. So they have a technology consulting arm as well. So somebody from the technology consulting arm would be leading the project. Then they eventually hand it over to the functional guys or the guys who are located near the customer. I mean, the native guys who are living near the customers, right? And typically, Indian guys only come when it's about configuration or programming or something like that. So these guys who are actually in a technology consulting or domain consulting roles, they get paid very handsomely. But when it comes down to the pyramid, eventually that reduces very significantly.
Oh. I was thinking of joining Accenture, but now, as you say, they pay less. I won't join.
For you, they can't afford you, sir, even if the kind of knowledge that you have.
No, I'm 60. No, I'm just joking. But anyway, on an average, how much is the salary of an engineer? On an average, across the board.
So, sir, freshers की salaries तो मतलब अभी I only have access to the
freshers का छोड़ दीजिए. 4-5 साल experience वाले का.
Now I think that data is a lot skewed. So people are getting very easily 30-35 odd lakhs at the moment. But that's very skewed. अगर average हम लोग average trend देखें तो एक 10-year-old really good consultant at least goes for like $60,000 or something, $65,000. That's a fair salary. In bull run that can go up to 85 or 90. In some cases 100K plus, but again that's a desperate case basis. Well, European companies. So we were talking about this captive hiring and all that. I'll share some points that never really comes into public. I've worked in such captive setups, so I think I'm eligible to talk about it. First is they are not good payers, so they don't pay good salaries, not even comparable to what Indian IT companies pay. So eventually वो जो thought है कि I'm not getting paid well enough, that catches up. Second thing, at least in Europe, there is a trend. You are hired on a certain contractual hours, let's say 7 hours, 7.5 hours, 8 hours per day. Anything that you put on top of it is paid at actuals. So people usually join for that because India में आपको पता है hours का कोई calculation नहीं होता है. So people think यार 8 घंटा मैं काम कर लूंगा, 12 घंटा भी कर लूंगा, तो that's at least 400 odd euros extra that I'm looking at. But these companies know that this kind of a billing they only do until the implementation phase goes on, and eventually they start putting a cap on it. You can't bill more than 10 hours per month, more than 5 hours, and so ये one of the aspects है जो बहुत rarely discuss किया जाता है. So that's why I said earlier also, this move to captive, most of the talent returns to the industry because of this reason, because eventually once the implementation phase is done, जो जितना भी मलाई वो company offer कर रहा है आपको वो चला जाता है, and then everybody wants to make more money, right? Eventually people, if some people will stay there definitely, for whatever reasons, कि native है, language बात कर सकता है, has spent a lot of time in the company, so has good connects, comfortable life है. But at least 70 to 75% of the talent returns to the industry. Right now that trend is going on because a lot of these big companies manufacturing auto and retailers, at least in Europe, they are currently in the implementation and the ramp up phase. That's why they are hiring a lot people from Infosys, TCS and Wipro. But 2-3 years down the line, we will see that trend reversing for sure. I've seen that happen before and I'm very sure it will happen again.
सर अमिया को एक और क्वेश्चन पूछूं?
Yes, please.
Amia, tell me one thing. This Accenture model, which is the go-to-market model, which is the sales part at which you are, basically fighting for a deal and you win, and the second part, which is the deployment model, the model through which you describe, which is essentially implementing the project. Which are the listed companies in India which are doing a superior job in these two parts? I know for certain that Wipro doesn't do it, and Infosys, the Bangalore companies, in my opinion, do a pretty. Wipro at least doesn't do a good job there. TCS probably does, but what is your opinion there? Who does a good job there, or better than Accenture?
Nobody, sir. To be very honest. Yeah, that's
seriously. Even
yeah,
TCS?
No.
Then how do TCS get to $10 billion?
It's all about pricing. It's all about pricing. That's all.
No, because see, at the same time, what was happening is TCS's margin actually became superior to infy. So, which means essentially they were not only getting these $10 billion contracts, I'm talking 16, 17, 14, around that, but their margins also increased, right? So obviously they were doing a good job of not only winning the contract.
Why do you believe the numbers? छोड़ो ना यार. There are ways and means to do it. Don't rely so much. Do your own research. Socho. How? Why?
So the first half of if you look at a contract as a whole, the first half of a contract where you actually get into pitching to the customer, show a few demos and all, and then hand it over to the delivery team, right? So that's how typically it works, from sales to pre-sales to delivery, right? So in Accenture का जो पहला वाला structure है, sales, pre-sales, and handing it over to the delivery, that's phenomenal. None of the Indian IT guys really come closer to it. Probably some of the guys from Infosys Consulting are really top notch. I have seen some guys do really, really good, at least in Europe. But when it comes to delivery, to be very honest, Infosys still better than TCS. I mean, I really don't want to comment, but I have seen some really bad work from on the delivery side from TCS and Wipro. So क्या होता है eventually when you mix these two things, sales, pre-sales on the one side and the delivery on the other side, eventually at a combined level, Accenture does far better than almost all listed companies. Deloitte का जो India arm है, that is also very good. They are doing really, really good, but it's not listed.
So, which listed company in India we should buy? Nothing.
It really depends, sir. I mean, where you find a valuation comfort. But I'm invested only in one company, which is LTI, and I'm invested in since IPO. So there is again no recommendation to buy at this price. Please do your research. But on all the aspects, being positioning Yahoo, या फिर growing the customer accounts or pocket share or expanding in certain geographies, they are doing better than many listed peers. इनका delivery भी बहुत amazing है. I have worked in LTI, so I know कि IPO से पहले वो क्या हुआ करता था and how they have transformed. So in the previous space I mentioned that अगर LTI पहले का होता तो probably मैं खरीदता नहीं कभी भी, but they have transformed really significantly. And this merger with Mindtree should augur really, really well. So next year or so there may be some overhang because of uncertainties and all. But that uncertainty is not in business. It's not with the customer at all. It's in market. So market always has some uncertainties that we never know what will happen. There are already deal wins and the cross sells already happening, which I see. So I think eventually LTI should come in. It's my personal view. Again, don't take it for a recommendation. I think LTI should come and replace Wipro in Nifty.
You mean the combined entity?
Yeah, combined.
God.
Yeah, because now the net profit is around 700 crores a quarter. So 2,800. And if you see logically, it's not that expensive. 60 हो सकता है. और बोलो भाई, सादिक भाई बोलो, क्या बोलना चाहते हो?
सर कैसे हैं? ठीक है सब लोग?
सब
हाँ सर, मुझे ये आईटी इंडस्ट्री का मतलब देखिए, मुझे तो ज़्यादा नॉलेज नहीं है, लेकिन मुझे ये पता करना था कि जैसे मशीन लर्निंग और एआई जो हिसाब से प्रोग्रेस कर रहा है, तो वो हिसाब से इंडिया में जो कंपनीज जैसे इन्फी है, टीसीएस है, या जितनी भी आईटी इंडस्ट्रीज है, उसके ऊपर फ्यूचर में बहुत मेजर फर्क पड़ने के ऐसे चांसेस हैं कि मतलब जो काम यहाँ के बंदे हायर करके करते हैं वो तो अभी एआई से करवा लेंगे. तो उसके बारे में पूछना था सर. यहाँ पे एक्सपर्ट्स है तो मैंने सोचा पूछ लूं.
ये आपने अमैया भाई बोलेगा.
सादिक, ये जो
Sir, we are too far from that. I don't think
ये
so
जो
ऐसा
आईटी
कुछ
इंडस्ट्री
होगा.
है ना, सॉरी
Yeah,
अमैया,
go ahead. नहीं, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
first the IT industry will take away everybody else's jobs, not their own jobs.
नहीं वो तो ठीक है, लेकिन ज्यादातर काम जो हमारी आईटी इंडस्ट्री कर रही है वो आउटसोर्सिंग का काम कर रही है, जो यूरोप और वेस्ट का जो काम होता है. तो थोड़े दिन में अगर वो चले गए, एआई से अपना काम कराने लगे, तो ये कंपनी के पास काम रह जाएगा? फिर हमारी इंडियन कंपनीज के पास काम रह जाएगा आईटी में?
Yeah, AI replacing IT jobs is much more tough. I think they are going to replace the other jobs first.
Amaya, you have any view on this?
First of all, AI is nowhere that mature that it will come and take our job. So if there is something that's gonna take the edge level jobs or the jobs which are very mundane or very repetitive in nature, जो edge level के job हम लोग बोलते हैं typically, probably तो वो no code low code space लेके चला जाएगा, right? And जो process automation के softwares हैं, tools हैं, products हैं, वो थोड़ा बहुत लेके जाएगा. But we are very far away from getting into a situation where AI is actually coming and completely getting rid of the even at the entry level jobs. I don't see that happening.
Okay, Sadik.
ठीक है सर. सर मेरा क्वेश्चन एक और था, श्रीनिवासन जी से पूछ लूं?
आप पूछ लो ना, पूछ लो.
श्रीनिवासन जी, एज आप मार्केटिंग का एक्सपीरियंस है ना, तो आई वाज कॉपिंग अ प्रोडक्ट विच इज अवेलेबल इन वेस्ट यूरोप और यूएसए में है। वो प्रोडक्ट हमने यहाँ पे बना लिया है। उसका उसका प्रॉपर मार्केटिंग का तरीका मुझे पता करना था, तो वो हम मतलब डीएम में ले आके बाद में कर सकते हैं श्रीनिवासन जी?
Absolutely, Sadiq bhai. We'll connect.
ठीक है सर, उतना ही पूछना है। थैंक्स अ लॉट।
Pathfinder, anything else?
I don't have anything to say.
सर विजय कालरा जी को पूछना था, और उसके पहले एक सर वो फैक्ट फाइंडर द लाइबोर हैज बीन रिप्लेस्ड बाय एसओएफआर, so SOFR rate 6.4 is around 0.6 only. So whatever we were discussing about the lending borrowing rates for this 5G would be around 4.5 to 5 only, not 7 or 8.
No, I was talking about including your hedging. So if you include hedging costs, at the end of the day, you are borrowing in dollars, right? So if you say 4.5% dollar rate, I think at best, plus your currency depreciation of about 4%, you are borrowing at 8.5%, with the potential that your currency can depreciate far more rapidly, and if you're paying 8.5%, you can get it cheaper. Large corporates in India can get it cheaper. Yeah, they don't need to pay 8.5%. What is your mortgage rate? 7%.
These guys don't hedge.
No, it doesn't matter. No, finally there is a cost to it, right? If your dollar depreciates, your liability goes up. No, it shows up in your balance sheets either ways, right?
No, so the way it is that telecom companies are net forex earners, because the call flow towards India, ISD call flows towards India is far higher as compared to call flows out of India. So you are a foreign exchange earner on call flows. Secondly, if you look at roaming per se, so let's say a company like Airtel would do about, let's say, 5,000 crores, which is, let's say, $500 million worth of net forex earnings, because on roaming also they are forex earners. So essentially, I mean, I know for sure that they've tried to hedge and they have always failed. And because they are net FX earners, though they are paying for capex, which is an outflow, but that is a separate account, right? Which is much more controllable. So this is how I would assume they do. They actually take clean loans.
No, if you're talking about the loans that they take for a capex, typically what happens in capex, the supplier of equipment provides them with loans. That's different. Don't differentiate between the two. I'm talking about in general when you're bidding for spectrum, where the product is the value of the spectrum is in India, and that spectrum is utilized for India's services. If you're going to get financing from a bank at a cheaper rate, you would ideally take that. No corporate would borrow abroad if it is people. Corporates borrow abroad only if they find it cheaper to borrow abroad. They never borrow abroad to find. Reliance is the only exception, and the reason is that Reliance there's a lot of jugglery in terms of their accounting. So they show the cost of borrowing in dollars in their balance sheet, but the income that they earn on the float they show in their P&L. That's the only company that does that, and it's been doing it for several years. But otherwise, it just does not make any sense. If Indian corporates are getting financing at cheaper rates in India, they will not borrow from abroad.
बट फैक्ट फाइंडर आज के दिन में भी बैलेंस शीट के अंदर स्ट्रेस है, इंडसइंड के अंदर वोडाफोन का स्ट्रेस है, आईसीआईसीआई के अंदर वोडाफोन प्लस एयरटेल का थोड़ा बहुत है। तो एवरी बैंक इज राइट नाउ स्ट्रेस्ड आउट ऑन दिस टेलीकॉम प्लेयर्स। अभी
No,
ओवर एक्सपोजर आई डोंट थिंक so.
Samrat, I don't agree with you on that, Samrat. With the exception of Vodafone Idea, again, I think in Indian Bank, Vodafone Ideas, it was a guarantee which now has been taken care of because the government of India has taken over that. So I don't think there is an issue with Indian Bank as far as guarantees are concerned. Bharti's balance sheet is fantastic. Reliance is pretty good. I don't think there's a risk on telecom.
हम्म, ये बात है।
हाँ विजय जी बोलिए, आपको कुछ पूछना था।
हाँ, तो शरद जी, with your permission, it's apart from market, can I ask?
Yes, yes.
Sir, the fact finder, sir, obviously I'll call you sir. Uh, First of all, big fan. And my question is, like, the at first the this COVID came, this virus came. Obviously, it was not an accident; it was intentional. And though, so the right now things which are happening in the world, this Russia Ukraine, two nations in Europe, their government was changed their leaders, particularly this Germany and Estonia. So, do you think like something very very bad, very very fishy is cooking on like very higher levels, like on world order? And in the US, first this Trump lost, and this obviously this baby Biden came to the power. Do you think it's some conspiracy theory, like something is very very bad is cooking on the very very like higher levels, like the world order is will be changed in like next 2 3 hours? Like, what do you think? Like, is there any conspiracy around?
Sir, I think this entire conspiracy that you're talking about is nothing but something from WhatsApp University that has been, talked about by the BJP IT firms. Okay, let's see. The fact of the matter is that, I mean, it has come on public that the US initially started funding gain of function on the coronavirus and various other viruses back in 2003 onwards in Fort Detrick in the US. It's a military institute. And then sometime in 2015, 2016, Obama banned the this kind of research on viruses called the gain of function, and that's when Dr. Fauci's institution called the NIA, they transferred this technology as well as money to Wuhan facilities in China. I don't know if thing was it was on purpose or not, because I mean, we conveniently blame China, but I would blame the people who first of all designed did the R&D for this, which is the Americans, and secondly, I'll blame them for funding the Wuhan labs. The third point I want to make is that, and this has been acknowledged by the US in some forums. There was an investigation and a questioning of Dr. Fauci in the parliament. The second thing I want to highlight is that recently there was a report that came out saying that the number of people who had COVID immunity in the US before COVID was announced as a global issue, uh, they had about a 5 million people in the US who already had COVID, related, what do you call, antibodies. How did that happen? That's a question, right? As far as this entire Germany, Russia thing, I think US is behind all of this. All US needed to do was to say that we will not get Ukraine or you not get any of these other countries neighboring Russia into the NATO. If they said that, this war wouldn't have happened. If if China said tomorrow that they will install arms and missiles in Pakistan and Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, you think we will keep quiet, right? So that's essentially what happened, and this helps the US. There's not been a war for a long time, right? So the US defense industry has not done very well, and this is helpful. Who's the biggest beneficiary of this entire war? It's US. They will become the world's largest suppliers. They will also be. They are also supplying a lot of arms. Their currency has become stronger, so they have actually benefited of the entire war more than anybody else, at the cost of Europe and the rest of the world. We keep supporting US. Boss, they don't care a damn about India. I mean, they're the ones who took India to the WTO where we lost our case. They're the ones who removed India from the general system of preferences, which gives preferences for countries exporting textiles. Bangladesh still enjoys that. India does not enjoy that. Pakistan till recently was enjoying it. The US has never done anything for India. Never, never done anything for India. In fact, it has worsened in the last 6, 7 years. So I mean, I don't understand why what a fascination for the US is.
Uh, uh, Again, we can revert to Infosys.
Thank you, fact finder, sir.
भाई क्या सवाल पूछा तूने?
सर मुझे तो कॉन्स्पिरेसी लगता है पूरी दुनिया।
अरे भाई एक काम करना,
बताओ।
बताओ, वही सपनों की दुनिया में जियो भाई, छोड़ो।
सर सपनों की दुनिया में क्यों? सर सपनों की दुनिया में कुछ भी शॉट मार लो सुबह उठ के।
नहीं
सपना में क्यों जीना?
सुनिए, ये सब इट इज नॉट माय स्टाइल. आई डोंट बिलीव इन थियरीज बिकॉज आई डोंट नो एनीथिंग. मुझे नहीं मालूम ये सब एशिया, रशिया, अमेरिका नहीं मालूम है हमको. हमको तो एक ही चीज मालूम है, क्या लेने का क्या बेचने का, बस. काय को माथा फोड़ी करने का. खाने का 2 रोटी है, वो चुप चुप के 3 भी खा लेता हूँ अभी. काय को मगजमारी करने का. रशिया किया ये, एक वो किधर किधर पहुंच जाता है.
सर अभी कल क्या बेचूं?
मेरे को क्या मालूम. सूरज की पहली किरण निकलेगी तब पता चलेगा क्या बेचने का है. अभी रात हो गई, क्यों बेचे, क्यों सोचे. चलो guys, anything else please? Yeah, Abhishek, you wanted to speak something.
हाँ हाँ सर सर वो एशियन पेंट के बारे में अर्निंग्स का मैं वो देख रहा था कि बहुत अच्छा वॉल्यूम ग्रोथ आया इन द लास्ट 6 क्वार्टर्स. 6 क्वार्टर से इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी तो कुछ हो ही नहीं रहा था पहली बात तो. अभी अभी जाके थोड़ा खड़ा हुआ है एमएसएमई सेक्टर. तो वहाँ पे जब कैश फ्लो चालू होगा तभी तो जाके खर्च करेगा पेंटिंग वेंटिंग में. जस्ट एन एग्जाम्पल, मेरे अपार्टमेंट वाले ने पेंटिंग करवाया अभी, मतलब 6 महीने लगे उनको करने के लिए पेंटिंग, और उन लोगों ने बिल फाड़ा है 7 करोड़ का. मतलब मैं बोल रहा हूँ साला उसमें से 2 करोड़ का लेबर है. अभी इतना मतलब सी इवन व्हाट टेक अवे इसमें क्या है, मेरे को लगता है कि जो भी इनका ऑर्डर आया होगा दैट मोस्टली वुड हैव बीन फ्रॉम योर अपार्टमेंट्स. फिर तुम्हारे यहाँ पे जो नए नए कंस्ट्रक्शन अभी हो रखे हैं वो सारे के सारे होंगे, बिकॉज अंटिल नाउ तब तक इन्फ्लेशन बहुत बड़ा हुआ था एंड स्टील वाज वेरी एक्सपेंसिव लास्ट 2-3 quarters. So most of the builders opted to wait out until the steel prices cooled down before buying. उनके पास जो पड़ा हुआ इन्वेंटरी था. एंड बैंगलोर रियल एस्टेट में तो मैंने देखा हुआ भी है कि काफ़ी सारे प्रोजेक्ट्स गॉट स्टॉल्ड इन बिटवीन, इवन द वंस व्हिच आर फ्रॉम वेल नोन बिल्डर्स. इन फैक्ट इन द लास्ट 3 to 6 months में. तो अभी जाके जब भाव कम हुआ है स्टील का, तो अभी जाके शायद इन्वेंट्री उन लोगों ने खरीदा होगा वापस से. आई थिंक इट्स अ पेंट अप डिमांड का इक्वेशन है. दैट इज व्हाट इज शोइंग इन द नंबर्स इज व्हाट आई फील.
No, I don't know the reasons, but numbers look good. Stay away.
Yes sir.
और देख, अपने को ज्यादा मगजमारी क्यों करने का. इफ numbers are good, for me shorting at any rate, down up is no, strictly no. Genuine company, genuine results, छोड़ दो.
हाँ सही बात है.
और दोस्त,
और
anybody
तो
else?
हाँ anybody else yeah.
समझ भाई, आपको कुछ बोलना है? Chirag, you want to speak something? Oh, requested. हाँ मैंने बोला था. बोलो भाई. मैंने बोला था. बोलो. अनम्यूट करके बोलिएगा.
सर मैं लिसनिंग मोड पे हूँ सर. थैंक यू सर. थैंक यू.
Thank you. Right. Chirag. Chirag.
Sir, I just joined. I was just I'll just listen before I say something.
No, we are winding up.
Acha, acha. No, sir. Nothing from my side. I just this thing.
Okay, friends. Good night.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Sir.
Good night, sir. Good night.